Well, I picked today's talk, Who Are You Really? Because our world is really a confounding place when you look at it from the point of spiritual values. Now, supposedly, according to the good book, it says here, then God said, let us make man in our image, according after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over the wild beasts of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. Now tune into this next sentence. God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created him. That's an interesting play on words, isn't it? Male and female, he created him instead of them. So, what happened? We were created in the image and likeness of God. And what is the image and likeness of God? The image and likeness of God is pure love. Now, I'll have to admit that when you try to define the undefinable, you're going to fail. So I'm going to fail, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay? So, the divine is this unconditional love and this infinite wisdom and an infinite knowledge and all present everywhere and all loving. Okay? Do we sound like that? Does the world sound like that? Let's see. We have ISIS and then we have presidential fiasco going on and political things going on, and then we have parents who may raise us and they don't love us unconditionally. Does that sound like a God creation? No. And then we have all these troubles, and we have aches and pains, and we get sick, and we die. Well, that's dumbfounding. Does spirit die? No. Okay, so why are we dying if we're spirit? And why are we having these problems if we're spirit? We decided at some point to come in for a variety of reasons, and some of the reasons that we come in is to come into the planet and help other people, because at some point, quite a while back, this planet got off track, and we got multiple gods, and we got wars and violence and killing and everything, and that certainly doesn't look like a divine world, and it doesn't sound like divine beings. So one day I was reading from the front of the Bible, and this country killed that country, and this country killed that country, and this tribe killed that tribe, and this tribe killed that tribe, and that tribe killed that tribe. Well, it was so disturbing I had to quit reading it. Does it sound like the good book? You know. So, I look at this, and then you wonder. Now, for me, it was really a puzzle, because I grew up, I've told you I was an altar boy from 5 to 23, but then I went to straight adamant atheist. Because I couldn't handle that world where there's judgment and eternal hell and all this stuff. And in our teaching, we don't criticize any other religions. I'm just expressing my own opinions, okay? And my own feelings. So for many years there was this search, and then I finally came across Science of Mind. And the biggest thing that attracted me to Science of Mind was that, there's a gay pride parade coming up, all right? And our churches are all going to take part in it. So I looked at that and I said, wow, this is a church that really doesn't judge. And I said, now that's the kind of church I want to be in. I want to be in a church that doesn't judge people and that lets people be who they are. Well, you get onto the spiritual path, and then you want to grow and evolve, and where are we going? What are we looking for? What are we trying to do on the spiritual path? Well, why do we even have to get on a spiritual path? Whatever got us off the spiritual path, right? And if you look at it, there are a number of reasons and a number of explanations that you'll hear. The most plausible one that I heard was, yes, and I'll explain it through this. So God says, of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. How's a spiritual being going to die? So what is the tree of good and evil? The knowledge of good and evil. If you look at our political party, we have two parties. That is a state of duality, and that will eventually always lead to severe conflict. Because you're opposing each other, all right? So duality exists on this planet. We have hot, cold, good, bad, talks of heaven and hell and all this stuff. So where do all these problems come from? I mean, there has to be a source where the problems come from and why we have a problem with it, and how do we get out of it? All right? So the problem is that you can take it a couple different ways. One is that we decided that we wanted to experience, after experiencing all this wonderful bliss and joy and love and magnificence of the divine, we decided we wanted to find out what the sense of separation was like. Oh, dear God, what a mistake. What a good idea. Yes. What did we find out? Is pain and death and sorrow and agony and all the other terrible wars and violence and all the other terrible things on the planet. Is that enough? Well, we get to the point where we realize if we continue going down the path we're going down, we're going to kill each other. Or we're going to destroy the planet and destroy ourselves in the process. So that's the path we've been walking down. We've been having wars and we've been having violence and we've been raping Mother Earth and we've been polluting our own environment, and the end result of that would be that we would kill ourselves. That doesn't sound like divine intelligence, does it? No. Okay. So now, are we really divine? Well, let's look at another aspect of this. One of the other reasons that I understand that people come in is they want to help. So you decided you want to help, and you want to help the people who have had. I'm not going to use any specifics because it might trigger memories, but that you want to come in and help with something that's a terrible problem for people. Okay, very emotional and a lot of trauma and so forth. Okay, well, how are you going to help them? You come in out of this beautiful, sweet, bliss, wonderful, magical, beautiful, loving, harmonious place, and you come down here and it's dramatically different. Well, how are you going to help somebody who's been an alcoholic if you've never been an alcoholic? And as a counselor, one time I was working with a person, they said, well, you don't know what it's like to be such and such or to have such and such experience. And I said, oh no, would you like to hear mine? And she said, yes. She was angry, boy. And so I told her, she said, yes, you do understand. So, but think about this, because it's kind of confounding in a way. You got these beautiful, beautiful, sweet, magnificent divine beings that come into the hell of experiencing the worst traumatic emotional things that you can even imagine just to help other people. Wow. What does that say about them? No, it's not that they're crazy. That's not what I'm leading up to. No. That is such a level of service and love that is beyond the limited human comprehension. So we come in for a variety of reasons, learn, grow, experience. And actually, I've thought for years and years that we come in for one purpose. We come in to spiritualize matter. We come in to a human body with the intention of spiritualizing that human body and raising the physical to the divine level. And it turns out that is what we do. And that is our purpose here. Our purpose here is to have a physical body that we bring to the higher levels. And you've heard me mention that we're in the process of going from the third to the fifth dimension. Well, third and fifth dimension are dramatically different, to say the least. The third dimension has all the stuff I've been talking about. The fifth dimension, you are back in your divinity. You are back in your spiritual self. Now, I want you to imagine this planet moving from the third to the fifth dimension and going from the hell and the chaos and the Holocaust and everything else, and some of the magnificent things of, for instance, the beauty of the earth and so forth, but into a realm where the beauty of the earth is restored to its natural, full, exquisite beauty, and where each of one of us is elevated back to the beautiful spiritual beings that we already are. So who are we anyway? Well, we get this sense of separation, so we forget that we're divine beings. Now, if you're a divine being, do you die? No. Okay? And if you're a divine being, do you judge other people? No. No. So here we are going through these lessons on this planet. Now, I looked to see what Uncle Ernie had to say about this process. And, he's using a quote from Jesus. It says, the Father and I are, well, you've heard, the Father and I are one. According to the Lamsa translation, it's the Father and I are of the same nature. But here was a part that Ernest Holmes said. The Father and I are, we are each, the Father and I are of the same nature. What he says is, I am a spirit, and God is the Spirit. And that we are all a part of the body of God, the mind of God, the Spirit of God, and that we have the capabilities of the divine and not to be limited at the way that we are. How many times have you ever seen a miracle? How many have seen a miracle? Yeah, I mentioned I was driving up to Santa Fe and the snow gets on my windshield and the windshield wiper won't work, and I said, well, love and source, you're going to have to help me till I get to my driveway in Santa Fe, and snow's coming at the windshield, nothing's touching it. I hit the driveway, snow hits the windshield. How do you explain that? Well, how do you explain the power and the unlimited capability of the divine? And what we have done is we've been kind of numbed down and dumbed down through a process of different things, but we are coming out of it. And we are in this evolutionary process where the consciousness of the planet is rising. Okay? Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with kinesiology or use it, but I use it a lot in my life. And it's the arm testing, but you can use it with any two opposing muscles. And I use it because it's a great crutch to the intuition, which is the voice of God trying to talk to you. Okay? That's what intuition is. It's the voice of God, or the angels, or the archangels, trying to help us and saying, don't go there, do this, and don't do that. Now, how many of you have always followed that voice, those voices? Yeah. Minority. Yes, 5 people out of however many, okay? So after a while, though, you learn that if you don't listen to the voice, or the voices, the spiritual voice, that you're going to make a mistake. Well, 3 times in a row in Seattle, making that mistake, and I said, that's it. And so whenever the voice talks, I listen. And when it says, don't go that way, I don't go that way. And later I may or may not find out why. So if we are these beautiful spiritual beings, how are we going to get back to it? The first thing that we have to do is stop judging ourselves, stop criticizing ourselves, and stop putting ourselves down, because that's I call that blasphemy. Because we're judging God. I mean, if there is an omnipresence and we judge ourselves, what are we judging? We're judging the divine, right? We're judging the Almighty, and yet we are the Almighty. we have that same mind, we have that same spirit. We are one with it. And we will end up back in that as we move into the higher dimensions. So how do we get to the higher dimension? Well, we quit judging ourselves and we quit judging others. We stop comparing, because any comparison is an insult to the one that is diminished by the comparison. We start assuming a positive attitude toward life, and we, instead of living in a life of fears, we start speaking the word for what we want to have and what we want to do and what we want to be. And we take a totally new attitude toward ourselves. You know, the thing I always wish is that I wish that I could transform the experience I had of the oneness with God and the feeling of that this, and this was when I was pretty screwed up, quite frankly. And we're not going to go there, though. You don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it. So, but this essence just loved me unconditionally the way I was. And I, wow, God loves me totally and unconditionally. Me. Just Jack, who for 43 years wasn't in touch with his feelings and was an adamant atheist and was judgmental and fearful and angry and a bunch of other things. And it's loving me just the way I am. And I realize that it loves every one of us just the way we are. Even though we think we're screwed up or messed up or whatever it may be, it loves us just the way we are. And it not only loves us, it adores us. It thinks we're just absolutely beautiful and wonderful and magnificent. And it doesn't judge its own creations. So if it doesn't judge its own creations, what are we doing judging its creations, right? So in the process that we're going through in life, in this evolution that is taking place, according to the testing that I do, the consciousness on this planet has doubled. Consciousness level, uncollective consciousness has gone from 200 to 400. 400 is the level of reason, and 500 is love, and 540 is unconditional love. Well, as the consciousness of the planet rises, it changes the vibrations of the planet. And so I mentioned in one of my previous talks, what it does is bring the shadow sides up for healing. So I think we've seen enough of that, haven't we? Yeah. Have you seen enough of your own shadow sides? Okay. Have you seen enough of the politics shadow sides? Okay, yes, and the war and the violence, all those shadow sides, and the anger and the judgment, and then not enough of the power and the greed. That's enough. Okay? So we're moving through the changes. And for some of us, it's challenges at times, all right? And just, if you need to go see a doctor or whatever your problem is, or whatever needs you help get, fine, go do that. And and just realize that a lot of the things that are coming up are our own things that we have stuffed for many years. So now we're not going to get away with it. Now it's going to come up in our face and we have to face it, all right? I did the memorial for Moneta Claire yesterday, and she had written a little letter of what she would tell her family and friends. And part of it is that it was very beautiful, because part of it she said, I want my family, friends, and others to know that I forgive them for any harm that I think they may have done me. And I ask them to forgive me for any harm I may have done them. And she went along on this way, and she said, I forgive myself for all the judgments and errors and mistakes that I made, and some of the horrible decisions I made. And she says, and I'm willing to love myself just the way I am now. This is last stages of dying. Well, why do we have to get that far? It's time now to make the change. And each person here is contributing to the planetary consciousness and the shift of the planet. When you come from a point of love with yourself, with others, with animals, with anything in the universe, everything in the universe is lovable in some way. Our job is to be love, to be walking love. No judgment, healing the angers, healing the negativities, and coming back to who we truly are. We are divine beings. So, do we see ourselves as human or divine beings? Well, if you see yourself as a human, start seeing yourself as a divine being. I am a divine being. I am of the essence of the divine. I am of that supreme power, that supreme light, that supreme love, that supreme essence. It flows in and through me. The perfection of my spiritual body is continually manifesting in and through my physical body. The wisdom of that one mind guides me in everything that I do. Why can a human being not be acting like a spiritual being? It's our natural role, isn't it? So, I want to give you a homework assignment for today. That homework assignment is, I want you to take a look at, you know pretty well what the divine is and what spirit is, right? Everybody? Yeah. I mean, it's love, it's peace, it's joy. It doesn't judge, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't harm, it doesn't kill, it doesn't do any of that stuff. It doesn't compare. It just loves and functions in harmony and wisdom and knowledge and understanding. And so this is a challenge for us, and the challenge that I give to you is that you look at your thoughts and your mind and your beliefs and the way that you carry on your life, and look at how much you judge and how much you compare and how much you put down and how much you criticize yourself. And stop it! Stop it! Yes, stop it, because it all stands in the way of moving into that sweet, beautiful bliss and love. And then as you become more and more clear, you become more and more aware of the divinity of your being, and you become more aware of the presence of the divine. And you see the angels and so forth helping you in your life in so many other ways. And then you begin, at some point, you begin to feel that love and that bliss. And as that bliss moves in and through you, you feel that love that is so pure, even from the fifth dimension on, all the way up. It's just the most beautiful thing. I mean, can you imagine, what if you were raised from a child with unconditional love and never got judged and never got compared and never got put down? Wow! Would you be something? Yes. And we have some of those people on this planet, okay? And then we have the people who didn't get it and who have recovered from it. And they are something too, okay? Well, that's all of us, all right? So my challenge for you is to sincerely look at the way you treat yourself first, okay? Because you're not going to be unconditionally loved by another person if you don't love yourself. That's because in the law of cause and effect, what goes around comes around. How are you going to attract unconditional love if you're not it yourself? How are you going to attract peace or the other things that you want? And so look at what you want in your life and what you want to be, and use the spiritual as a comparison, okay? And there's one thing that you are not allowed to do, and that is judge yourself, criticize yourself when you make a mistake or when you, quote, fail. I think one of the greatest spiritual steps I ever made was the day I told my little boy, Jocko, I said, Jocko, from today on, we're allowed to make mistakes, we're allowed to be wrong, we're even allowed to fail. And he said, thank God. So that's probably what you'll say too when you get to the point that you don't judge yourself and criticize yourself anymore. And you're just who you are. Who you are is a spiritual being in a human body, dealing with the challenges of the human and of the world, and learning to move and grow beyond those challenges and to supersede them, because your divinity is greater than any challenge you have. So as you go through this week, love yourself, drop all that other garbage, and just be the spiritual being living a human life as the God being that you already are. And words from our good Ernest Holmes, he says, we are each a spirit, and God is the spirit universal. And yet we are an intimate part. He says the individual is in the universal. In other words, we're in God and a part of God. And I love this line from the Science of Mind. The resurrection, some people call it ascension, some call it resurrection. The resurrection is the death of the belief that we are separate from God. So who you are is really someone who is already one with God, always has been, always will be. You are not separate. You're already what you want to be. You already are one with God. That's who you really are. So let's do a prayer to support each of us in that. So, beautiful loving source, wondrous God of my being, as your holy presence touches us, we feel that beautiful love, and we sense that unlimited power and that wisdom, and we are touched in our hearts, in our minds, in our beings. We recognize that there is one mind, one body, one power, one spirit, one essence, one expression, and that is the God of our being, the loving source, and that we are an inseparable part of it. We are intimately joined permanently, universally with that one. And what that one is our natural state. And so I speak the word for myself and for each person here, that we are able to release the negatives, those that are not the divine attributes, and replace them with the divine attributes, and to be the peace and the love and the power and the wisdom and the essence of spirit radiating and expressing itself in and through the human as the perfection of the divinity that it is. And I speak the word that whatever challenges we have had that have created fear, judgment, anger, disappointment, fury, rage, or whatever it may be, that they are gone. Gone. And the power of God, the power of Spirit, moves in and through each one of our hearts and our minds and our bodies and our state of affairs and restores us more and more every day into the beautiful spiritual beings that we are. It's with a great sense of humbleness that we feel that perfect love and know that that perfect love is a natural part of our own being, and that we integrate it into our lives intimately, and that we are really spiritual beings expressing in this world in a spiritual way. That is the decree I make, and I know that the higher beings are with us, speaking the same decree for each one of us, and we walk in a boldness of knowing that we are spiritual beings. We walk like it, we act like it, we talk like it, we show that as the essence of who and what we are. That is the word I release into the law, and give thanks knowing it is done, it is good, it is divinely good. And with great humbleness and gratitude, we say, and so it is.